This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Agit Moyed. I would like to dedicate this Dvar Torah Lilai Nishmas, my grandfather, Harav Mordechai Leib Glatstein, Zechatzak Levracha, who was nifter on the first day of Pesach. Tehei Nishmasot Tzura B'Tzara Chaim. The Alshich HaKadosh reveals Devarim Neflaim, wondrous information about the power, the spiritual energy of the final day of Pesach, Shvi'i Shel Pesach. The Alshich HaKadosh writes in Parshas Re'eh, Perek Tezayim Pasuk Ches, 6 days you should eat matzos. On the 7th day it should be Atzeres Lo Yisa'aseh Kol Malacha. Lo Yisa'aseh Malacha. Says the Alshich HaKadosh, the 7 days of Pesach are compared to the 7 days of creation. Chazal say in Shemos Rabbah, Parsha Yates, Ois Ches, that the 7 days of Pesach are keneged the Shivas Yimei Bereshis. The 7th day is keneged Shabbos. Says the Alshich, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the miracles of Mitzrayim, wanted to create roots, to be mashrish, the emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Now the main days of Brias HaOlam were day 1 and day 7. Day 1 was the main day of the creation of the world, because Chazal teach us everything Hashem created, He created on the first day. He merely positioned it over the next 6 days. So the physical creation of the world took place in 6 days, but primarily on day 1. However, the world, after the 6 days of creation, was just an empty shell, was just a physical edifice without any soul, without any ruchani, without any nefesh. And then Shabbos came, Shavas vayinofash, says the Alshich, Hukna nefesh ba'olam. Spirituality, soul came to the world. So since the first day of creation was the main day of the physical creation of the world, that was the day of the creation of the Guf HaOlam, and the Nefesh, which is Mekayim, the world, we know a body without a soul is a lifeless shell. So the soul that upholds the world, breathes vitality into the world, gives the world life, was on the 7th day. So corresponding to that, Hashem authenticated this process of 6 days of creating the physical edifice and the 7th day creating the spiritual edifice. This was authenticated and testified to and verified through the Yom Tov of Pesach. On the first day of Pesach was the miracle of the actual physical leaving of Mitzrayim that upheld and verified or authenticated the physical creation of the world. But just as the physical world was a lifeless shell, so too the miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of the physical exodus, where life was breathed into it on the 7th day, on the day that the Pasuk says, not Vayibaka Hayam, that the sea split, but Vayibaku Hamayim, all the waters in the world split, so that the whole world could recognize and integrate and be makabel the idea that the Rebbeinu Shalom created and runs the world. As we see, Yisrael was so moved and impressed by these miracles, Rachav Hazoino was so moved by these miracles. Says the Alshich, that the 7th day of Pesach, Hume'ein Yom Shvi'i Shel Bria Shabai Hushpa Shefa Nafshi El Ha'olam. The same way Shavas Vayinofash, Shabbos injected soul into the world. The 7th day of Pesach injected the spiritual message of the miracles of Mitzrayim to the whole world. Vayaminu b'Hashem of Moshe Avdai. So the first day of Pesach corresponds to the physical creation of the world. The 7th day of Pesach corresponds to Shabbos. And just as Shabbos breathes soul into the whole physical entity of the world, the 7th day of Pesach breathes the spiritual energies of Yetzias Mitzrayim into the whole world, as Hashem split all the waters in the world. Now this fits in beautifully with the idea of the Eretz Tzvi, the Kajag Lavar Goin, that the 400 years were completed from the physical birth of Yitzchak on the first day of Pesach, and the 400 years were completed from the spiritual birth of Yitzchak, which is his Milah, on the 7th day of Pesach. Again, the 7th day of Pesach is the spiritual epicenter of the year. It is when the 400 years were culminated from the Milah of Yitzchak Avinu, and it is the day that the neshama and the ruach and the nefesh of Yetzias Mitzrayim was proliferated to the whole world. It is a day that Hashem infuses Kol Ha'olam Kulai with neshama and the message of Hashem as creator and mashgiach over Kol Ha'olam Kulai. May we be zocheh to all of these great hashpa'is of ruchnias on Shvi'i Shel Pesach, wishing everyone a Chag Kosher V'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.